Okay, it is 5:10. I would like to call the April 8th meeting of the Hadley Capital Planning Committee to order. I see that we have a quorum, so the first and only item of business that we have on today's agenda is the new proposal for a DPW building, and we have the chair of the DPW committee, James Maximowski, who is going to make a presentation about this project to us. So, Jim, you have the floor. Before you
want this to work from? This is just those options that you have.
Okay. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the original proposal we had for 19 or 20.2 million dollars, whatever it was. Anyways, at the one meeting you had with the Board of Selectmen about a month ago, give or take, and it was, a lot of concern about the price being high, which there's absolutely no question. $20 million is a sizable piece of change. And the effect on the tax rate would be on a 20-year loan, I believe it was somewhere around $600 a year for the average home, and for a 30-year loan it was going to be about $430, $440, something like that. I don't remember the exact number, but anyways, it was quite a significant amount a year. And so there was several questions raised about lowering the price and still meeting the needs of the town. And the original proposal had the complete office space, 2 maintenance bays, a drive-through wash bay, 2 main storage bays, and then those were like in a straight line. And then on the back side of the garage, it was basically, I would call it a wing of quite a bit of storage for most of the town equipment. And so the architect took a look at several proposals, took off the back wing, and then he gave us 2 proposals with the complete office space still intact, 1 maintenance bay, the drive-through wash bay, and 1 storage bay. And that proposal was roughly, now I'm going to use these numbers here and then I'm going to explain a little bit about it in a minute. That proposal was roughly $14 million. 2 maintenance bays was roughly $15.5 million, and the same proposal with only 1 storage bay was roughly $14 million. Realized that he put these proposals together kind of in a hurry because he was out of the country when we had our meeting. I asked him to come back in 2 weeks with all of this information. He didn't get back until Tuesday morning before the DPW meeting. And so he kind of put the numbers together to be consistent, but he added there's the price of the garage unit, storage bays, office, etc., and then what he calls the soft cost, which is the architectural design fees and the fee for the OPM for the duration of the project. And he used a flat fee of roughly $2.4 million across the board for all of those. Well, using those numbers, he also added that to the $19 million project, or the $20 million project, so they brought that project to 22. And I asked him, didn't you add them twice? He said, yeah, but I wanted to be consistent across the board, yada yada. He said, I didn't have a lot of time to break it down. He says, so in reality, it's very possible that the 2 lower cost projects could be up to $2 million less. So it would be something like between 12 and 13 for the single bay, and 13 and 14 for the 2-bay storage unit. We presented those to the Board of Selectmen last week. The DPW's choice of garages was the 2 storage bay unit office space, 2 storage bays, 1 maintenance bay, and drive-through wash bay. And I talked to, that was the choice of the DPW unit building committee. The select board endorsed that proposal. That's the one that's going to be put on the town meeting warrant. I talked to the architect that evening after our meeting, and I asked him to work up a much better cost of that unit. So tonight, right now, the project, the cost is going to be kind of like this. We should have that price more firm by the end of this week.
Oh, Jim, can you give us a high and a low range? Best case,
I believe
worst
it's
case?
going- I believe it's going to be 13 to 14 million for this project.
It wasn't the original, like a year ago, like $30 million?
Well, when the original project was proposed, without doing much of any design, there's a lot playing into this. The original architect, which was Weston and Sampson, was basing it on numbers they were getting of facilities, which was basically at the height of the COVID time. And that's when everybody realized prices just went wild for a whole bunch of different reasons. Since then, especially this past, I'm gonna say less than a year, there's not a lot of these units going out to bid. The architect has said that looking in a central register, they're seeing one, maybe two big projects going out for different municipalities, be it schools or DPW facilities. There's just not a lot out there. And so the contractors are hungry. For example, Boxborough, Mass. Just received bids the end of March for a facility very similar to the size of Hadley's. They had estimated that that project was going to cost, well, I don't want to say that because they had almost $2 million in their budget for facility facility preparation of the ground. It was just where it's being built. So they said, if you take that out, then the two projects were comparable in size, roughly $20 million each, $20 million as a ballpark estimate. Their price came in for the Boxborough facility almost $3 million under the estimate. Their contractors are hungry right now. And they said, if you can get this thing out to bid this fall, I think you're going to see really good pricing because there's just not much you're going to see contractors very likely bidding on this that you wouldn't see bidding on it because they're hungry. They want work.
Okay, and so that brings up another question that I'm thinking of, the time frame for this. You know, you're talking about going out to bid this fall?
If the project is approved at town meeting, then you'll have the override ballot vote. If both of those are approved, this will be going out to bid in probably October or November.
And how about,
Construction to start, I don't know, I doubt they're gonna start in December, but it'll probably be starting, depending on the weather, it'll be starting early next year.
and how about a time frame?
Roughly, I think they said, give us about 15 to 18 months.
Okay, so it's good to hear this information. I'm just wondering if those numbers are in today's dollars or in what it would cost 18 months down the road too.
Those are, the numbers that they're using are good numbers to be using.
You know, 'cause
I don't know how to answer your question.
yeah, I guess the reason I'm asking that, I've been doing this, you know, pretty much my entire working career, and I've just seen so many projects come in. This is what it's gonna cost. By the time the shovels go in the ground, it's up another 20%. They have to go back to town meeting again and beg for an additional amount, another debt exclusion vote potentially,
Well-
and that causes a lot of, you know, political angst.
Absolutely. And the estimated money that is being utilized is going out to bid this fall with construction to start early next year. Okay? So if the prices come in October, let's say the project comes in at, we could say we have an estimate of, I said 13 to 14, so let's say the project comes in at almost $14 million. Okay, that's the estimate. And the bids come in at 13.5 million, or right around the estimated project. That's what it's gonna cost. Because the contractors have signed a contract that's saying, we're gonna build this facility for this amount of money.
So they're contractually obligated.
Yeah, it's correct.
Okay.
It's not, it doesn't have,
And
you're not seeing, I shouldn't say that, you're typically not seeing the escalation clause that you might see in some much bigger projects.
all right. And how about maybe this is more a Scott McCarthy question, but is it, how far into the future will this take us too?
That's where I wanted to go.
Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Well, just one wash bay, one maintenance bay, and 2 storage units?
Correct.
And what do we have now, just by comparison?
What do we have right now?
Yeah,
None of those.
we have absolutely none, okay.
None of
All
those.
right. So they do the maintenance in that, I was in that big building.
Whatever we have in the existing DPW garage is staying. We're not touching that building.
Oh,
That building will stay. It'll still be able to be utilized for heated storage, 'cause that building is heated.
okay.
It does have a maintenance bay, but it's a shorter maintenance, but I mean, it's a decent maintenance bay. The whole garage is in good condition.
Okay,
The problem with it is that it only has roughly, I think it's 11-foot high doors.
right,
Maybe 10.5-foot high doors, so certain equipment does not fit.
gotcha. Okay,
And with the new plow truck that we just purchased, a big, I think it's a Freightliner with the, they call it the side
wing.
plow.
Double.
The wing.
I don't think it'll fit through the door. If it does, it's got about this much room on the side. And
Well, it'll get through the first time regardless, and then after that, it's really not a
so
problem.
this new building is designed with 14 by, it's either 14 foot high by 16 or 14 by 14 wide
Okay.
door. They're doors that'll fit any legal vehicle that rides on the road today.
Wonderful. Yeah, I happened to be there as an aside one day coincidentally when they were backing that truck in, and you are absolutely correct, Jim. It was about this much.
Yeah.
And they have to have a guy guiding him in
Yeah,
to get
you
it
know.
in.
The project also includes a new salt shed, is that correct?
Yes, yes.
So you'll have a new salt shed.
The
Good.
existing salt shed will have to be removed because of where this is situated on the site. We would love to be able to leave the salt shed because well, it's not in great condition, it serves a purpose, but I don't believe, but I'm not 100% positive that the salt shed must be removed. And the architect says, once we get a little bit closer, we can decide, do you want to leave the salt shed? Is there enough room? What about this? You know, if we can save not putting in a salt shed for the next several years, that's probably a $750,000.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Jim, can I ask you a quick question? If the existing structure is going to still stay there,
yes.
there must be some cost involved to bring that up to...
No, we do not have to
stand?
touch it.
You don't have, okay,
Because we're not gonna do anything maybe but paint it.
but you're going to use it.
You can utilize it because it's gonna be used exactly as it is today. We're not gonna make any changes to the building. Therefore, by making no changes, we don't need to bring it to building code,
Oh, okay,
okay?
right.
If we went to, like originally, we were thinking of putting offices in there. And there's a building code that says if you exceed a certain percent value of the building, you're gonna bring the whole thing up to building code.
Okay,
And because the building is not seismic designed, it's not really insulated on walls. The ceiling is, but the walls are really just plain old block and other things. We would probably spend more, even though we'd only utilize roughly 40% of the building, you're gonna bring the whole thing to building code. That means sprinkler and it would just be,
okay.
you know,
Nightmare.
a lot of money. So by doing nothing except probably paint it to make it look better, we're good.
Good. And how
Jim, is there
long?
a chance that the $19 million option that's on there, or the $20 million, whatever it is there a chance that that one is inflated by the same $2 million that he said?
No, because they took the 19 million and added the 2.4 to it, so it actually came out to be 22 point something. So
And
the
then
original,
took it off?
I actually have it, when he first gave me this paper, I'm looking at it, I said, wait a minute, something's not right. I went back and looked at the estimate that we got, I think it was the end of February, and it specifically says, total, it's a very detailed estimate. And it's got building cost was, I think, 18, let's see, it would be like $18 million. Soft cost, 2.2, which would bring it up to $20.2 million. And then that included everything.
Okay.
And at the early meeting we had in March, because the Boxborough pre-bids filed subbids were coming in quite a bit lower. He said, I would feel comfortable going in at 19.65. He says, it was not gonna make beans difference on your tax rate, but at least it sounds better.
And the 19 includes the two. The soft
19 includes
cost.
everything. 19.65 includes everything.
And when you say soft costs, are
That's
you
the
referring to
architectural
like,
fee, design fees, and the OPM fees.
and how about other costs, like say site preparation,
That's all included.
blacktopping?
That's
and
all included.
All that.
That's all included.
No surprises?
No surprises, nothing extra.
What about demo?
You're laughing.
It includes demo. Includes demo of the
Speak
house. Yep. Yep. It included the salt shed, demo of the house. I went through that. Wait, but what about the, and it like one, I took some real hard looks at that thing to make sure, and it's like I said, it's a very detailed breakdown. I mean, it's I want to say the detailed breakdown is like 4 pages. And, you know, it has all that stuff listed.
And it's select,
It has the asbestos removal of the house.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
remediation as well, good,
Yeah.
okay.
and Jim, for my clarification, and the select board voted to approve the higher project?
No, they approved the 2 storage bay project, which was I said the 13 to 14, I'm estimating 13 to 14 million, waiting for the architect to come back to me. They call this,
they approved
on
the-
this piece of paper that I have, this option 3. I don't know what happened to option 1 and 2, but it comes out with option 3 as the first bid. And that was the 19, or the 19 million, the complete facility. Option 5 is the single storage bay and cutting off the back wing, which we just talked about. And option 4 is the one with the 2 storage bays, still cutting off the back wing.
And they,
Select
Now,
board.
they went with
building
the 2 storage.
2 storage bays, and the building is designed that in the future, if we wanted to add this storage bay, storage area we're taking off, it could be added into the future.
All right.
So one of the issues that has been brought up, you know, internally with some finance team discussions is, you know, the difference in, you know, your annual tax payment, the increase from the smallest one that the select board, you know, decided on versus the one that everyone agrees is what is needed truly. The difference is not a lot.
Negligible.
It's negligible, but I mean, granted,
Over
I'm not
30
a
years,
taxpayer.
right. I think that was
Based on
over-
the numbers that Linda gave me for the $19.65 million project and what the assessors gave me as a tax rate, the building is, the project is roughly 2/3 the size of the original one. So your effect on the tax rate, instead of being probably 400 and 600, is going to be probably roughly a little under 300 to maybe 400. You know, so
And that's what, a
per year.
30-year or
Yeah.
a 20?
the 60,
30.
the
I would
more,
go for the 30 years.
the roughly, I think it was 4, Linda gave me 4,
Cheryl.
Carolyn gave me like 430 or 440 a year for the, no, you gave me the,
That was for 20 years,
There was-
and then,
30 years, 359.
I'm sorry, you're talking about the 19 million.
I'm talking about the
Okay,
19, yeah,
I'll
right.
write that.
So
Okay.
the lower cost one, the
359.
lower effect on your tax rate is a 30-year mortgage. The more expensive one is a 20-year.
Your loan.
They figured a 4%.
Yeah, and they were
interest rate,
using,
they used suggested.
yeah. What percent do you think, Paul? 4 or 5%?
Right now, 4 sounds pretty reasonable, if it were
Oh, okay.
today.
Okay.
But
This is
again,
based
you know,
on
there's a
5%.
lot going on in the world right now,
This is based
too.
on 5%, so it'd be a little bit less. But I mean, the numbers that we've got are for, I want to say, old figures.
Correct.
Once we get the new figure from the architect, which I'm hoping to have by the end of the week, if not early next week, then, because I'm going to be on the select board's agenda for next week, then from there, we will get, you know, whatever realistic numbers the Linda gets and Carolyn gets, and we'll go forward with that.
So usually, this committee, when we vote on a specific amount, and it sounds like we're in a conundrum here that we don't really have
We don't have
a
specific
solid
amount to work
lockdown
on.
figure right now.
You've got a range, and that's all that I have to give you.
So when, you're gonna have the numbers, you think, next week? So can we just do another meeting?
a quick meeting.
Just a
We
quick
wanna wait
meeting,
till
why don't
after
we do that?
select board meeting.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Let's
So
just
we
do
could
that.
meet in maybe 2 weeks again.
So
2
the only,
weeks.
the only thing that, yeah, I mean, you're, if Jim is correct in that, and the OPM or whoever, the architect or whoever it is, inflated the numbers accidentally by the 2.2
Mhm.
million in soft costs, then you have the option that the select board picked, but you're gonna be off by about $2 million. So you could wait and see what the select board does, because here's the other issue is that it's a timing issue, right? We have other financial issues that we're dealing with at the same time
Yes.
as this, and so, you know, there may be some shuffling of how we take action on these items. And if there's a delay in this DPW complex part of it, it may give you an opportunity to go for the larger and more appropriate, perhaps, building that you need, which could completely alter this committee's vote if you wait for the true numbers and then, have another meeting.
And I do feel we should wait until we have some solid numbers. And
agree.
So-
it's-
Yeah, I agree.
I can throw this option at you. And maybe Linda, I don't know if this is a good idea, but what if, is this committee potentially available for the select board meeting, and we can have a by-board meeting with capital and
It'll be
select board?
tri-board at that point, because
It'll be
finance is
tri-
coming.
Finance will be, that's on the 16th.
what's the date?
16.
16th. I'm already there, so
Next
not a problem.
Wednesday,
for
you're
me.
already there,
Week from
right?
tomorrow.
15,
I think that's a
16.
great idea.
16th.
Yes.
Bang it all out at once.
That's
You
the
guys
Legion
open your
dinner.
meeting, you open the finance meeting, we open the
I've already
select board
paid.
meeting, and everybody
And
decides.
then I
And
couldn't
then
go.
go to once, Jim.
That's
You get to do it
I get to do
twice.
it twice.
All it's gonna be, I mean,
I like
To
it.
that
make
will
a
come down
decision
to the wire, but, we think
fall
we should have good.
within
numbers.
the
Yeah, I gotta
You
do
gotta
that.
go, you gotta go.
Okay.
Right.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Voice- Thank you, Jim. We
Thank you.
appreciate the
Thank you.
information.
See you, well,
Hopefully.
I'm on the agenda for, we got a
Yeah, he'll be there.
DPW meeting at
You'll
4
be there.
o'clock. And I'm on the select board's agenda for next meeting as well.
Which is the 16th.
Right,
16,
Week from
6
tomorrow.
PM.
right, and
Yeah.
finance will be there, so I'll be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Who
Thanks,
else is
Jim.
on this committee?
Christine Pipchinsky and
David Fell.
Dave Phil.
And David will be there.
And David will be there, so
And you'll be
technically-
there anyways, Paul, because you're
Right.
finance, so.
So you need you need
You both
one
come.
of the two of you to be there and you're good. You'll have a quorum. David Phil will be playing double duty and Paul Benjamin will be playing double duty, and Paul, if you can make it.
Alright.
And they meet at
I'm
6.
here.
16th.
They meet
That
at,
Paul.
You
We meet at
want
to-
6
have to.
PM. We meet
Do
at
you wanna
6
have-
PM. We can open all 3 meetings. We can do it all right in the beginning of the meeting.
that would
and
be
get it done.
nice, because we have something going
Yeah,
on
I'm committed
too.
for the 16th. If you want to have a meeting the following day, soon afterwards, I
We
understand.
have done that before. We had a midday, we had a
Yeah,
10-minute
that-
meeting once at 2 in the afternoon or something.
Yeah,
I could do that.
well, here's my issue too. I'm going away on vacation on the 18th, so the 17th is,
17th.
I could probably do the afternoon, Linda, on the 17th, if that's what you're
Yeah,
saying,
that's-
Bill.
Yep, I'd be
Well,
available.
If,
And
to get Bill, I mean, you will have, I mean, if you can do the 16th, you'll have a quorum, but that means you already know that Bill and.
Well, that meeting is also, are you able to do a Zoom? Because the select board meetings are hybrid, right?
Mhm.
So if you were able to get to a phone and do Zoom just for that portion of the select board, we could still do the 16th.
on the 16th,
What time would that be?
well, we're gonna be next
6.
door anyway.
Yeah.
6
That's
o'clock.
walkable distance,
What time are you guys gonna start drinking?
We get there at 6, but we usually
3
don't,
PM?
the dinner bell rings at,
If you're gonna start that early, then don't come over. We don't need.
The
we want-
decision
we want
will be-
sober decision.
No, we need to know if they're happy drunks or angry drunks.
Yeah, we need to know that first.
Yeah, we need to know that first.
I don't know either.
Yeah, okay.
if they
No, that
serve
would
at
be
6,
bad.
if we get rolling right at 6 o'clock,
I'll put it right at the beginning.
I can't
of the
envision it's
agenda.
taking more than 30 minutes,
I
right?
can't imagine.
I'll put it right at the beginning of the agenda.
That would be
and
nice.
We'll do the best we
Why
can
don't,
with
are
getting
you
it
okay
done.
with that,
Matter
Bill?
of fact, I think it's
Six-
already.
What time does that start?
6:30 is the dinner bell at 6 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
So
All right,
that-
We'll
that-
miss the hors d'oeuvres
Yeah.
and all that, but, you know. That's fine.
That's fine, okay.
Okay.
Just go in with Tupperware at 5:30 and fill it up.
So we'll make it a, we'll make it a
Then nuke it later.
as opposed to a,
So we're
as
talking about
opposed to
16th at
a,
6.
agenda item. So, I
6
wish
o'clock.
Jim was still here just to, make sure that it's a part of the full conversation, but, we've been obviously having a lot of finance team meetings on this whole situation, because, we're aware of, an operational budget shortfall that we have. We still have to figure out the ambulance situation and what we're doing in Hadley for that. And so we have a lot of financial matters that we need to deal with at this point. And so the timing of asking for large amounts of money like this from the taxpayers is super important.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having you guys there next week with the select board for them to discuss the timing and where things should land appropriately. So Paul's part of our finance team that we've been meeting with, so he's got a little bit of a better breadth of an idea of what we're talking about here. I just think it will make a heck of a lot of sense for everybody to be there, because
Everybody will hear everything
everybody
at the
will
same
hear
time.
everything at the same time, and
I agree.
if there ends up being a slight delay in putting the DPW complex on a warrant, for example, if we move it to the fall, or if we have a special town meeting for the DPW building or something like that, it gives you an opportunity to have the discussions of, well, what do we really need? Do we want a larger building so we never have to touch it again? Spend a little bit more money? Whatever. It's just, I don't know. Having everybody in the room at the same time is just, it seems, every time we've had a by-board finance committee meeting and select board meeting, I feel like we've accomplished
More.
twice as much as what we would have. So with you folks there, I
And
don't know, I just feel like.
with this
great.
project too, Mike, it sounds like from what Jim's saying, and you know better than I would, that the selectmen are totally on board and
They're on board with it, but like I said, it's a matter of when. When should we push this forward, and how do we get the messaging out there? Because if you also need a operational override, and you need to do this building, you have to factor those two things together into your tax rate. So, like Jim said, if you're talking about a $15 million building at 4%, 30 years, that's $600 onto your annual taxes. If
Which-
you need $1 million added to your operational budget, or $2 million or something like that, you're talking about something very similar to that. So now you're talking about $1,200.
exactly.
You know what I mean? So these things can't be talked about in silos. They have to be talked about as a package.
And typically, as Linda would know, these projects get delayed by the time the bonding is taken, the final bonding, and then you have another year beyond that to make your first principal payment. We could be looking at a payment 3 years down the road.
Right, if the timing that Jim was talking about, that it goes out to bid in the fall and construction wouldn't happen until the next spring anyways, that I don't think we're delaying the project at all by asking this to go to a special
Based
town
on-
meeting a
no.
little bit later, like August
Based
or
on
September,
his-
to deal with.
Based on his time frame that he suggested, they'd like to have bids in and they'd like to start the project, I can very, very assuredly say that if there was a slight delay, we can still hit those timeframes.
I think so.
Yeah.
And it gives them time to get all these pieces together a bit
Right.
more, and maybe if we look a little more closely about how long we can finance it for, and what the actual difference is between the 15 and the 19 million, 14 and 19 million over
And the first
30
year of
years.
impact too.
Yeah,
Actual impact other than the carrying the interest on the temporary borrowings.
right. Yeah.
Because again, I said it could
Either
be
way, we
3
wouldn't be
years from
making
now
any
before the
payments.
first principal payment hits.
We wouldn't
Right.
make any payments till 28.
Yeah, and that's 3
Right.
years from now, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
because we're bidding the fall of FY '26. Even if we spend during '26, we wouldn't borrow until by September 27 and.
Wait for the
first payment
bands
in
to
28.
expire and then go out for the permanent financing and then
I
you
think
you have
that
another
point-
year
I
there.
think that point should be made, not loud and clear, but up front as well, because a lot of
Presentation.
people think that they're going to get hammered immediately. Not that you're
Correct.
stalling it, but, you know, they
No.
can plan it out, appropriately.
That's
I think that's
the
a good
normal way it works
Yeah.
with these capital projects.
Yeah,
That there is a 2 to 3 year delay in most of them.
Right.
right.
And I think that your point, Paul, about making sure that, I think this is where you were getting at, make sure you don't come with too small a figure so that we don't have to go back a second time.
Correct.
Because when we did the three buildings together last round, we did come back for 2 of the 3.
Right, and that's,
The North Hadley Station and the, which one? Senior Center. We came back again and had special town meetings to bump both of them up by, $1 million, $1.5 million.
and I've seen situations, in my job in other communities where the voters said no to the additional amount. They said, this is what you told us you wanted and we gave it to you and now you're coming back and you want
Right.
more?
Right.
And
Do a
they're
better
thinking,
job
this was their
estimating.
plan all along, even though it wasn't, it was just they don't account for inflation.
Yep.
And that's why I was
There's a lot of
asking
that
Jim
going
that
on.
question about the cost. Are those in today's dollars or dollars down the road, 2
I
3
would,
years?
I was happy to hear, it's the first time I've heard him discuss it, but I was happy to hear that if we get bids in October, November, and they plan on starting the project early the next year in the wintertime still, I'm pretty satisfied that with that short period of time, you're not gonna see any massive.
Yeah, and it was nice to hear what he said about the contractors being hungry. There aren't a lot of jobs out there right now, and that was pretty interesting to hear, and that bodes well for us.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree.
It's also possible with what's going on in the market right now, that bonds are gonna come down because they're still a much better investment. So 6 months from now, we might be looking at 3%.
Possibly.
All right, so what we'll do is, we will put a tri-board meeting. We will post for a tri-board meeting for the 16th, and we will make an appointment, and we won't have it as a regular agenda item, so that we can open the meeting with the appointment with the 3 committees together, the select board, the finance committee, and capital. We'll have the discussion, and we'll have you guys back over there for appetizers.
Well, if you
Excellent.
can bring some over to the meeting, you can probably get through it a lot faster.
We'll get to go.
The bacon with scallop.
Okay, I guess that wraps up today's
You need a
meeting. We
motion?
really can't take any votes until we have our tri-board meeting, and
Sounds good.
we will go from there. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there
I'd
a
like-
second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The
I like
meeting